Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is the BP NFL Thanksgiving special. That's right, just like Randy Marsh, we've been working on a very special for you for Thanksgiving. You're sitting around with your family, overeating, arguing about, well, probably everything. The best thing you could do is just put together some bets, sit back, watch some games, and make some money. And to help us get the right bets at the right time, of course, two of my best friends, Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker, and my boy Scott Bogman, and we're going to go through the games one by one and then talk about some of the props too. But first, to the games. If you haven't already, make sure you download the BettingPros app. Again, sync your sports books for free, everybody, and you get the trial going on right now of the premium tools over at BettingPros. That's what you want to do. And don't forget, we're also still giving away free stuff. Still a few days left. Not many, but the Mike Evans signed Buccaneers helmet is still up for grabs thanks to PristineAuction.com. All you need to go do is head to bettingpros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Betting Pros app, leave a review of the Betting Pros podcast, or subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X, on TikTok, and Betting Pros NFL on the IG. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive, and we'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when the new episodes are up, and you can claim your prize of the Mike Evans helmet. We can give that away for Christmas time too. All right, let's start things off here with the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. 10.5 is the number here in favor of the Detroit Lions. 48.5 is the number here of the total, plus 434 Chicago Bears upset. If there's one thing I think, boys, that we've learned, and I've said it on these shows in the last few times, we've had double-digit spreads against the Lions here, where the Lions take care of business. Dan Campbell does not understand the word trap game. He doesn't understand the words let up, brakes. His cars have none. It's all just gas, and then sometimes he slows down just enough to get back into his garage at night. So, Boggs, are you comfortable with the 10.5? I want to start there.
No, not really. I'm gonna take the points here. Look, it's a Thursday game. It's a weird game, and I actually kind of like the way Chicago's been playing since making this change at OC. And I think we've seen Caleb Williams put together some decent drives here. He should have had a game-winning drive against Washington, and the Hail Mary ruined that. He should have had a game-winning drive against the Packers, and the field goal got blocked. And he had a drive to come back and tie the game last week. I think Chicago's been competitive. They've been keeping it close. They've just been on the wrong end of the stick the last couple weeks. Doesn't mean that that's how it's going to play. Like I say, every single week for Thursday, don't play the game, play the props. The games are weird. They're strange. They can get lopsided, but I like Chicago in this one, plus the points.
I agree typically with you. The games can get weird. But look, with Dan Campbell, I don't know. I feel comfortable with these points. Every time they get one of these slapnut teams coming in, they're just way out of their depth. I just don't think
Chicago's just like Jacksonville.
In the nuts.
Okay, but I don't think Chicago's
but the Titans, Titans,
neither of those teams are division opponents.
Very
it's
true.
The division, man. Like that's the thing that it's division opponent.
Okay, if that's the route you want to take, all right, Andrew. I feel you're building a narrative. Go ahead.
I'm not picking sides because it's a divisional matchup. I'm not going to fall into the trap of Commanders Cowboys from last week, where it's some weird, wacky divisional game. Steelers Browns on Thursday night. I'm not doing this. So I'm just taking the over because we're playing this game in Detroit, and this is where point totals thrive and they fly above, soar into the clouds. So looking at the average total in the Lions' last 24 home games. So this is going back season after season. The average has been nearly 55 points. 75% of the games have scored at least 51 points. So we're getting a spread or a total at 48.5 points. We know the Lions can cover this on their own. They've done it the last two home games against the aforementioned Tennessee Titans and Jacksonville Jaguars. So Chicago could barely not even show up, and we could still hit the over in this game. And I don't have to even sweat who wins. I just want points. That's what I want on my plate at 12:30 p.m. when I'm watching this game. I want points. So given how good the Bears offense has looked over the last 2 weeks, I think they can do at least something in this game to keep it pedal to the metal, keep Dan Campbell trying to score. So I love the over in this game more than the side.
Erickson wants a second helping of points, not of potatoes.
That's right. Can I get some more of them points? That's what I want. If you parlay the Lions on the money line, I'm just looking at this, the Lions to cover the spread and the over on the points, 48.5. You can actually get this to plus 250, which is kind of fun. Just saying. if you just want to go for the clean sweep, if you want to take the best of all of us here, and put them all into one thing, and maybe we're all right in some way, that would be nice. All right, let's get to the next game here, because we have to. We're contractually obligated. It's the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. Tommy DeVito, no turkey for Thanksgiving, all cutlets, baby, all chicken cutlets. 4.5 is the number in this game. Dallas is favored by 4 at home. Cooper Rush coming off arguably one of his better performances in his NFL career. 39.5 is the number, plus 165 for the Giants on the money line. So Erickson in division games, something gonna get wacky here, or the G-Men gonna pull something out of this turkey? I don't know what, but it could be a W.
If Drew Lock plays, it definitely could be a W, because Tommy DeVito is now questionable to play in this game. He has soreness in his throwing arm because he was just throwing all those.
Because he was doing this too much during the week. And I hurt myself. I can't move anymore.
So, I mean, I'm not going to bet on Dallas here. So again, if you're making me pick a side, I would take the Giants with the points. Going back to talking about divisional matchups, and if Drew Lock is a starter, Drew Lock's the better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito is a third-string quarterback for a reason. So I think that this gives the Giants hope, an advantage. I mean, Drew Lock would be really motivated to play because he came to New York thinking that, hey, I'll get a chance to play here. And they're like, oh, sorry, we're going to cut the start and then go right to Mr. Italian himself, Tommy DeVito, because we need to lose games so we get a high draft pick. So, but if he's out, I think that makes a big difference. I think that Lock versus Cooper Rush is much more an even matchup than DeVito versus Cooper Rush. So if Lock plays, I'm cool laying the points with the Giants. But for me, I just want to bet the under in the game. 37.5 points, zoom out, right? Every day, when you look back at Dallas, traditionally what they've done at home, most of their games have gone over the total. You know what team never goes over the total? The New York Giants. This is a team that drags every single game through the mud, and you're going to see some regression here with Dallas's home games always going over the total. Well, their explosive offense is long gone. You look at the Giants, what's their biggest weakness in their pass secondary? Deep passes. You know who doesn't throw the ball deep? Cooper Rush. He does not. He's not attack downfield whatsoever. So this will be a low-scoring game, whether it's Lock, whether it's Rush. And in a low-scoring game, you usually want to be on the side of the underdog. So I would take the Giants with the points. Ultimately, I do think that Dallas gets their first home victory of the year, but I don't think it's going to be more than 5 field goal.
It's funny. I think the one element you're just missing out on this is, again, some of the local flavor, which I'm going to add here, being a local in this New Jersey tri-state area. The incredible negative comments right now coming out of all the Giants players, which is, again, a very telling thing.
They like Daniel Jones. They didn't want to see him go.
They seem to have liked Daniel Jones. They don't like the way this was handled by the coaches and the GM. And when you lose a team, you sometimes then lose a lot of games, and it feels like that's what's starting to happen here, Boggs. It doesn't help that you lost, and then at night everybody went home and they all watched Saquon Barkley run for 5,072 yards against the Rams. Like, that didn't help.
I mean,
this cause.
Does Daniel Jones not have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and sign with the Philadelphia Eagles? It would just be so good. It would be so good. He'd be there with Saquon. He's a good teammate, and it would piss off Kenny Pickett so much. I would love it. It would be my favorite thing in the world. But I'm with Erickson in this game. Let's just take the under. Drew Lock is a statue. Tommy DeVito can't throw the ball downfield. Cooper Rush isn't throwing the ball downfield. They have no running game in Dallas. The offensive line is a mess. This is a great front seven for the Giants. The Cowboys defense is so much better with Micah Parsons. I mean, this is an underplay easy for me. This is probably my favorite pick of the day. And I don't like playing sides or totals on Thursday games, but that one seems pretty nice to me.
What you can do too is if you bring it down to Cowboys money line and then you bring up the total to 45.5, you combine those, you get minus 105.
I like it. Yeah.
Like that was something I was looking at. I was like, okay, like I think the Cowboys are going to win, and I get a 45.5 point total to work with. Take the under on that.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay, there you go. All right, last one here is the evening game in chilly Green Bay, Wisconsin. Green Bay at night in November. Sounds like the perfect spot for the Miami Dolphins, right? Sounds like the perfect spot for Tua Tagovailoa, who has not played well in these cold weather games, whether it be Buffalo or Green Bay over the years. So here we go. The Green Bay Packers -3 at home, 47.5, coming off a butt kicking of the 49ers, plus 145 here on the Miami money line, which is tempting, but hard pass for me. I'm keeping this one real easy here. Give me Green Bay with the 3. Boggs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking of that meme of the Latin lady who moved to Michigan or whatever from 90 Day Fiance, who was like, I was not built for this weather. I cannot believe people live in this. This is disgusting. I think that's what the Dolphins are going to be saying going to Green Bay in a late November game here, like they did against Kansas City in the playoffs last year. So I think I'd take Green Bay as well.
You know, I had never seen that show before.
I've still never seen it. I've only seen these clips.
Hold on. Well, I have now. This summer we were flipping around the channels and my 2 teenage daughters were like, stop a second. Well, I want to see that. And we started watching it. It is the dumbest, most ridiculous program, and yet you can't look away.
I've only seen the guy with no neck.
Train wreck.
I've seen that guy with no neck.
Oh my God.
One other meme.
No, we saw this one where it was like an older woman and she had so much plastic surgery. I don't think she could feel emotions anymore.
At least her face couldn't show them.
Or at least communicate them. Yeah, at the very least. Erickson, you still got a lot of emotions. And what are your feelings about this Green Bay Packer Miami Dolphin game?
I want to fade the Dolphins into oblivion. That's how I feel about this game. They don't win as underdogs. Their last 11 games as an underdog, they are 3-8 overall, 5-9 against the spread. They don't beat good teams. The last time against teams that have winning records, last 6 games, they have failed to cover the spread in 5 of them. So this has always been the shtick with Miami, Mike McDaniel. They beat up on the bad teams, the Patriots, the Jets, these teams that nobody wants any part of, and then they go on the road to play some of these actual playoff contending teams, and they just don't deliver, and they don't show up. So given the weather, given all the things I've already kind of pointed out, I want to fade the Dolphins. I'll take the Packers laying the points. Again, I was thinking about this. Would you rather, if you had to bet on one of these games, would you rather lay the points with the Packers or the Cowboys? Packers. Duh. That seems really obvious to me when you're comparing the two. Again, if you're not going to bet on every single game, take the Packers. It's the same spread, essentially.
I am. Stick to the end for the Turkey Day Parlay, which, by the way, last year we hit. So now we've set a precedent. We got to go 2 for 2. Last year we hit the Turkey Day Parlay. It was a good one. I think I got one where you could watch each game and hopefully come away with some money. And it's a big number too. And I don't think it's absurd. I really don't. All right, let's get to some of the props and break down some of these right here. Erickson, let's start with the Detroit-Chicago game for you. Walk me through the 2 props that you like the most that you are in on this weekend.
Yeah, so I really like Rome Odunze in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. So the Lions this season have been one of the worst teams against defending the slot. And I know a lot of people look at, Keenan Allen, he's the main slot receiver for the Chicago Bears. But Rome Odunze actually plays a decent amount in the slot as well. And he's been over 39 receiving yards in 7 straight games. Last week, he saw over 100 air yards. I know that he wasn't necessarily the guy who had the most production last week, but all the peripherals were there for him. He was still seeing a ton of volume. He still saw 10 targets. And when you look at, in terms of DVOA, against number 3 wide receivers, Detroit Lions rank dead last in the NFL in terms of total targets and yards to number 3 wide receivers. Odunze is technically the number 3 receiver on his team. So I think that this number is way too low. We saw Caleb Williams go to Odunze last week in a key 4th down. They have a really good connection. And I think that Odunze is going to have an explosion game here in the Dome. Again, I like the over, so I like some of these overs on some of these props. But Odunze, I feel like I kind of want to flag plan him as my guy heading into this game.
Okay, and then David Montgomery, he's been a touchdown machine. You have a different approach, taking the first touchdown, which is a pretty big number, plus 470. I mean, if that comes through, Thanksgiving holiday is already a good time.
Well, I mean, if you had to, but he's the most likely to score the first touchdown, right? I mean, we know these.
It's him or Brock Wright. It's gonna be like it's gonna be the most obvious one, or the one where you're like, that guy's still on a roster in the NFL. I love that.
I don't tush push.
What was the one from the Packers this week too? I remember the end of the game too. The guy who caught the touchdown at the end on that fade, Malik Heath. I was like, Malik Heath,
Mississippi State. Come on.
Stop it. Anyway.
So I like Montgomery. Well, I don't want to, for him to get an anytime touchdown, Dave Montgomery, it's like minus 220, right? Okay, so he's going to score. So, and we know who's going to score first, right? Probably the Lions. So I'm just kind of like putting math together. I'm like, yeah, I get that the odds are because it has to be the first touchdown, but Dave Montgomery's playing his old team, Chicago Bears. You don't think that Dan Campbell knows that? But what get this guy a touchdown? The last 6 regular season home games, Dave Montgomery has scored a touchdown. So I'm trying to get a bigger payout for what I think is going to happen.
The first time he's played them, like he's been with the Lions for played them a
And
bunch.
I'm sure that he scored touchdowns in all those other games too.
Guess, but like it's like the Simpsons meme, stop, he's already dead.
Okay, but it's I think it's more like a 50-50 shot of it's going to be either Gibbs or Montgomery. So if you're Dan Campbell, are you going to give it to Gibbs first or just give it to Montgomery? Be like, hey, let's get Monty's touchdown against his old team, and then we'll be cooking. So yeah, give Montgomery for me, first touchdown.
And then when Brock Wright scores everybody, you could be miserable for the rest of the afternoon. Let's go to your picks here. Let's start with Caleb Williams, 227.5 passing yards. Are you going over or under that?
Let's go with the over. I mean, this team has been so much better without Shane Waldron at the helm. QBs have hit this marker versus Detroit in 7 of 11 games. The guys that didn't hit it, A-Rich, Mac Jones, Dak, Murray, and Mayfield early in the season. Detroit is third in opposing team passing percentage because most teams are playing from behind, trying to come back against Detroit, which, as the favorite in this game, the Lions look to be leading late, and I think Caleb is going to be passing late. 391 total yards versus Green Bay 2 weeks ago. Green Bay only gave up more to Philly in week 1. And 398 total yards against Minnesota last week. Only Green Bay in week 4 and San Francisco in week 2 had more versus Minnesota. This offense for Chicago has looked much better under Thomas Brown than it did with Shane Waldron. So I like this total to go over. Let's hit I almost said Keenan Allen. Let's hit Rome Odunze on our way to this total as well, Erickson. So we can both be right. Let's do it.
All right. And Boggs, you've also got another one here. You've got Jameson Williams, who 46.5 is the number for him on the receiving yards, minus 113. And since you are the man who always likes overs, I assume this is an over.
Yeah, I'm the overtaker here. Top 10 in ADOT.
You're Kane. You're Kane to his Undertaker.
Now I'm the mayor of a city. Top 10 in ADOT, minimum 40 targets. That Jameson Williams. Top 15 and yards per route run. Weird stat of the day. 145 fewer yards than Amon-Ra on 42 fewer catches for Jameson Williams. He's obviously explosive. He's gone over this total on 1 catch in 4 games this season in 9 that he's played. He's passed this total in every game with at least 2 catches. 7 of 9 games he's had at least 2 catches. And Chicago is 28th in yards per completion allowed. So let's go with the over on Jameson Williams receiving yards.
Let's go to Dallas again and find some props this time. Let's start with Rico Dowdle. Undertaker, take it away.
Yes, I'm going under on 14.5 receiving yards for Rico Dowdle. So he's gone under this number in 3 straight games with Cooper Rush as his quarterback. It's weird because you think, well, Cooper Rush is this check down savant, like Rico Dowdle should be eaten. And yeah, he's seen a decent amount of targets, but because the average depth of the target is so low, it's -3 yards. He's not getting actual receiving yards on these receptions because they're all behind the line of scrimmage. So this is a bet where we could lose. He could get a big gain, but then we could come back to life and we could still get the Undertaker will literally rise for the under on this bet to hit because Rico Dowdle will lose yardage on a catch. So again, I'm following the streaks here. Make it to 4, under 14.5 receiving yards for Rico Dowdle on Thanksgiving.
Now, the nice thing about Thanksgiving games is that you get those special bets out there too. There's always those like extra things that get thrown out there. And you found one that's kind of intriguing around Malik Nabers.
Yeah, I absolutely love this one. So Malik Nabers to catch a pass on the first drive, plus 100 odds. I found this at DraftKings Sportsbook. Look, I can all but guarantee he's going to get a target on the first drive. Then it's up to...
Should be the first play of the game for them.
I mean, I feel pretty confident he's going to get the target. Now, will he catch that target? If it is even in his radius to catch...
Will it be catchable?
That will it be catchable? And that's why it's called gambling. Because it'd be a lock. It would be a stone cold lock if it was a target, but it's not. We're betting on Malik Nabers catching one of these targets on the first drive, so plus 100. See, this is how you watch this game, right? You tune in for the first drive, Malik Nabers, yes, got the catch, turn it off, go do something else.
So that's what Erickson's whole plan is, just to watch the beginning of every game. Dave Montgomery touchdown. Good. First touchdown. All right. I'm going to go eat first course. He comes back there. Second course, Malik Nabers catches the ball. All right, let's go. And he keeps eating all day, hopefully. All right, let's talk about who Boggs thinks is going to eat. Let's start with your first bet. Theo Johnson's where you're going. All right, let's talk about this.
So I had originally put in here Theo Johnson under, and then I went to go find my reasons. And when I was looking, I'm like, I have to go over on this total. It's 25.5 yards, so it's pretty low. he's a little bit nicked up with this back injury, but I think he's going to play through it. He's passed his total in 6 of the last 7 games. He has had long receptions of 22, 15, 25, 35, 13, and 23 in those games. His first look percentage is up to 21.3% over the last month after being only 10.3% on the season. And with no Kendricks again this week, I love my boy DeMarvion Overshown, but he is bad in coverage. He's had 40 targets, allowed 37 catches. The 92.5 reception percentage is the worst among qualified linebackers. And Kendricks, I believe, is best in completion percentage against, but he is likely not to be playing this game. So I think with Overshown out there, with, check down Tommy or check down Drew Lock, the statue, I think Theo Johnson can pass this if he gets 2 catches.
And then Ceedee Lamb, a guy that obviously gets a lot of targets too. You're going with the receiving yards over 67.5 at -1.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be locked up on the rookie Andrew Phillips, right? Andrew Phillips is their slot guy. He plays most of his snaps out of the slot. We're going to see a lot of Ceedee Lamb in this game. 6 straight games with 10 or more targets. He's 4th in yak, so I know a lot of guys catch the ball and fall down. That's not CD. And it's the last couple Thanksgiving Day performances have been solid as well. 11-6, 106 2 years ago. 17 targets, 12 catches, 116 yards, and a score last year. And in their last matchup earlier this year, obviously it was with Dak, but he had 8 targets, 7 catches, 98 yards, and a score. So, I'm not for a lot of overs in this game, but I think these two are okay.
And when you're looking for props, again, don't forget, Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. It's out there to give you all the props for every game with the best lines and the best over-unders there. So use it. Go to bettingpros.com/props, or again, download the app and just look for the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Let's do Miami and Green Bay. Last but not least here, let's start with Jonnu Smith, who's become an intriguing part of this Miami Dolphins offense. And I don't know if anybody really saw coming.
I sure didn't. As someone that drafted Jaylen Waddle aggressively in fantasy football, Jonnu Smith has been a rude awakening for the fantasy football shares for Andrew Erickson. But last week was good. The only thing was Jonnu Smith still had more targets than Jaylen Waddle. Despite Waddle having a breakout game, a season high across the board, Jonnu Smith was still the #1 receiver on the Miami Dolphins last week. He had 9 targets in the first half alone. With 4 red zone targets, he finished with 11 targets overall. Over the last month, he's the team's leader in target share. And I absolutely love the matchup here for Jonnu Smith against the Green Bay Packers. I cited this when we're talking about George Kittle and his over last week, which hit. He flew over his number, and it got suppressed after Brock Purdy got ruled out. But these Green Bay Packers linebackers, they can't cover tight ends. They're some of the worst coverage linebackers in the NFL. So I think Jonnu Smith is just going to continue to cook here with Tua getting the ball out quick. That's his guy. So Jonnu Smith has gone over this number in 6 of his last 7 games, and I see no reason as the pseudo #1 receiver on the Dolphins that he's not going to continue to cook here. So give me the over on Jonnu Smith.
Now, I have to say, the last prop you have feels like you are, had maybe a little too much cocktails, maybe during Thanksgiving, a little too much of the tryptophan. Maybe you're kind of, feeling weird because it has to do with Odell Beckham scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, for those that are just tuning, Odell Beckham is on the Dolphins. just so we're all on the same page. He's not on the Packers because, hey, who knows? It's been a while for Odell Beckham Jr. But I actually wrote Odell Beckham Jr. last week in my new article for Anytime Touchdowns, my favorite bets of the week, because he had seen a lot of red zone targets. And I thought my process was sound because against the Patriots, Odell Beckham Jr. had 3 targets, 2 of which came in the red zone. He had a target in the end zone.
I mean, I saw him almost have one.
He was close to scoring a touchdown. Yeah. So I was like, hey, the process was right. Maybe just a week too early. So now the odds have shifted even more in my favor. Now it's plus 850 instead of the plus 700 from last week. He's going to get a red zone target. And at plus 850, give it to me. OBJ is going to score on prime time under the lights. See, Odell Beckham doesn't score at 1 p.m. on Eastern time. Like, no. He's got to have everyone watching for him to finally make that one-handed catch when he could at least catch it with 2 hands. OBJ in the cold, even if it's in garbage time. Yeah, I think OBJ is going to catch a touchdown.
That's a fun bookend to the day, too. Montgomery, a plus 470 first touchdown at the end of the night, right? As you're leaving the house, your grandparents' house for Thanksgiving. There you go. Boom, Odell Beckham. Good night, everybody. and you walk out the door with the plus 800 bet there. All right, Boggs. For you want to start with Tua Tagovailoa and the over on the 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus money, plus 125.
There's a chance Uncle Bogman was taking a little too many gummies last night when he put this one in here, but Tua over 1.5. I like the number. It's plus 125. So you're getting plus on this. It's clear and cold, which is usually pretty good for passing. And I know it's against the Raiders and the Patriots, but he has had 7 touchdowns in the last 2 passing touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Jair Alexander is still most likely down. We're pairing this with an OBJ touchdown. That can be one of them. He's got explosive playmakers all over the field. He threw 2 to Devin Achane last week. So I like this over 1.5 because you're getting a nice plus 125 number here.
Okay, there you go. And last here, Jaylen Waddle, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Longest reception, 19.5 yards. Boggs, you're taking the
look, Erickson is here. I do shows with Welsh. I have to get on this Jaylen Waddle train at some point here.
It's over.
They nailed it last week. It's not over. You did it, and yet you didn't ladder it. Did you ladder it last week?
It's not over.
I was just happy that he did something for all my fantasy teams.
Oh, he only
has to do this. You're only watching for 1 catch to go over 19.5 yards for him in this one, and he's gone over this in 3 straight weeks and 7 of 11 games this season. His ADOT 11.8 or higher in 3 of the last 4 games. The Packers have the 4th most missed tackles this season, so there's a chance that he catches one and takes it for a while. And 43 of his his yards after catch, have happened in the last 3 weeks of the season here. So they're drawing him up someplace to not only catch it, but to catch it and go. And they're going to be playing from behind against Green Bay. We all kind of agree with that. So I think that this over 19.5 is a solid number. And I think I've gotten most of these on our Thursday night calls this year, Joey. So I'm going to go with the number.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. You have, actually. You've been very good with these. All right, let's get to the Turkey Day parlay for Thanksgiving, week 13. I'm going to start with the covering. That's right, covering the Giant minus 10.5 here. Look, the Detroit Lions are the class of the NFC, and every time they have a lesser opponent, they absolutely remind you why they're a lesser opponent. They continue to beat the crap out of lesser teams, especially in their own building. And I think they're going to put on a show, and they're going to run up the score because that's what Dan Campbell does. So let's start there. Then we'll go to Dallas for part 2 in the later afternoon. Give you the Cowboys on the money line because the Giants are folding up the tents, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. The new regime is probably going to be coming into New York, and I don't think they're going to beat the Cowboys on the road this week. And then lastly, Tua in the cold has not been good. And the Green Bay Packers have started to put things together. Now, Jordan Love's got to stop trying so hard to be perfect, because when he does, he starts making mistakes. Just go out there, play fast and loose. I know the Dolphins have played much better recently, but I don't trust Miami to go to the cold evening of Green Bay. So give me the Green Bay Packers minus the 3.5. If you put all 3 together, you get plus 500, baby. That's it. 5-1. That is your Turkey Day parlay for week 13. Gentlemen, always a fantastic time hanging out with you guys. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy the food, the family, and the fun, and hopefully a little bit of cash too. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Scott Bogman and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.